The leading Republican in the House of Representatives says he opposes a plan to form a commission to investigate the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Representative Kevin McCarthy from California says he wants the new panel to look at groups beyond President Donald Trump's supporters, including Black Lives Matter. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who drafted the proposal for the committee, rejected that approach. Joining us now is Christopher Bedford, senior editor at the Federalist. Chris, welcome back. Always so good to see you. I know that you were at the Capitol on January 6th. What do you think of Representative McCarthy's request to investigate groups other than supporters of the former president?
I think this is important. It's absolutely important. I was down there on January 6th as a reporter. I was also have been here in Washington, D.C. as a reporter and sometimes as a targeted civilian at the riots and disturbances that have been tolerated in our capital city for years and years and years now. I think McCarthy was correct to push back on what the Democrats are trying to do here. What they initially proposed was not a bipartisan coalition, but an actually very partisan group of people. They've started to hedge a little bit on that. What they're trying to do is turn what was just another riot in D.C. mixed with terrible security failures into some kind of civil war or some kind of insurrection. I was down there, and it was not anything like that. There were probably more agents than there were actual militia members in that crowd. And to try and elongate this and make it basically what Democrats were trying to run on for the next 4 years, I don't think it serves anyone's interest, at least not the interest of justice.
Yeah, I want to stay on Capitol Hill now. Last week, as you know, there was a change in GOP leadership with Representative Elise Stefanik replacing Liz Cheney as the head of the GOP Conference. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think it means for the Republican Party going forward?
It was an important move. I mean, there are differences in the Republican Conference all the way across it and how people's politics are. Congressmen and congresswomen and senators, they can have different ideas. But what made Liz Cheney different is that she was in leadership. Her job was to work with the entire conference, to stay on message for the GOP leadership, and to raise money. On all three of those things, she failed repeatedly and repeatedly. There are a number of Democrats in leadership who are one Democrat in leadership who's not extremely left-wing. But he doesn't go out there every day and attack Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He raises money. He's a conference chair. These are the kind of things that you're supposed to do. And she simply failed at that, and she had to leave. And I think that she will be held accountable by the voters of Wyoming who don't exactly agree with her politics.
I want to switch gears just a little bit here. As you know, the fighting continues in the Holy Land. And yesterday, President Biden spoke with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and gave his support for Israel to defend itself. And he also expressed support for a ceasefire. That said, do you think the Biden administration should be doing more here?
Well, at the end of the day, the Iron Dome and a lot of the rockets that are being fired by Israel were bought with U.S. taxpayers' dollars to help defend an ally. At the same time, he has a very bad relationship with Netanyahu. Netanyahu made no secret of the fact that he preferred Joe Biden to lose in the election. It was kind of a surprise move from him as that much of an opinion being out there. He also opposed Barack Obama when he was president. Their relationship is frosty. I don't think that Joe Biden has the ability to solve this right now, but the IDF does.
And before I let you go, I want to talk about the big news that came out of the CDC last week, sort of like an about-face, if you will, changing the mask guidelines for those who've been vaccinated. What do you make of that and its timing?
Oh, it's incredibly slow, and the timing is incredibly far behind. So many people across the country had already given up on this. I find the timing rather suspicious that you would see not just the CDC roll it back, but also Washington, D.C., a number of Democratic leaders all at the same time, as well as the teachers' unions. My strong suspicion is that the polling started to come back, and these are deeply unpopular. What upsets me, though, is how Dr. Anthony Fauci has been changing what he says over and over and over again, and then admitting months later on friendly shows that of course he was lying because the American people couldn't handle the truth. It was important for him to lie, to accuse Senator Rand Paul of being a liar. This is really troubling to have this guy supposedly referencing science, but really he's just referencing his opinions.
All right, Chris, we've got to leave it right there. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Christopher Bedford, senior editor at the Federalist. Thanks again.